Morocco is a beautiful country in the Maghreb region in North Africa. It is a wide country with mountains, valleys, ocean, and large portions of desert. Arid weather is generally linked with lack of water, and this country's water is needed by 34 million inhabitants, and by around 8,700,000 hectares of crops. Only 50% of the total farmland is irrigated, resulting in inefficient water use and management. Globally, Morocco has water issues. Moreover, the lack of functioning sanitation network and wastewater treatment system increases the scarcity of water resources. This issue has been studied by Agadir for many years.
To address this water issue, a suggestion was done. Wastewater could be used for agricultural lands and public garden irrigation. Thus, the sewage treatment plant of EMSA was created as a pilot project in 1992. The plant is located in a natural park, it extends over 200 hectares and it treats the sewage of Big Agadir. The main feature of this plant is that it uses the percolation filtration technique. This technique requires dry weather, a lot of sun and space, which is a good solution for this city.
First, Big Agadir's wastewater is collected, then it is transferred to a pump station. Afterwards, the preliminary treatment is performed. There are many stages. To begin with, loose sewage is cleared of big objects. Next, a grid removes more waste. Thereafter, sand and oil are extracted. On the one hand, the sand is decanted at the bottom of the tank and is sent to a landfill. On the other hand, the oil is removed thanks to the air, which goes up from the bottom to the top.
When the sewage gets to the treatment plant, it is left to settle in anaerobic tanks. They are 115 meters long by 35 meters wide. Through this process, grease and oil rise to the surface and are scraped off. However, the tanks are underexploited. Out of 13 tanks, only 9 are used over a period of 5 years. Afterwards, there is a rotation to clean unused pools and keep the plant operational. Then, the sludge is left to dry, but it's not upcycled. Researchers are working on how to compost it. In order to check if the water is safe, the laboratory controls different parameters like BOD, pH, and COD.
Afterwards, a fifth of the water undergoes the secondary treatment and the other part is released into the ocean. The problem is that it results in biological contamination and nitrate pollution, which impacts leisure and fishing activities. The next step is secondary treatment. The wastewater passes through slow sand filters to be cleared. This process removes turbidity and pathogenic organisms through various biological, physical, and chemical processes. Contaminated freshwater flows through a layer of sand where it's physically filtered and biologically treated. Thereby, both sediments and pathogens are removed. The top layer of the sand becomes biologically rich in organic matter and allows microorganisms to settle. To sum up, the sand traps the tiniest particles and releases limpid water in underground pipes. Each filter works 3 days in a row, then the surface is cleaned to avoid sludge saturation.
Finally, wastewater is disaffected. This treatment is needed to substantially reduce the number of microorganisms in the water. Ultraviolet treatment is used in this plant, which means no chemicals are used. Compared to other methods, the treated water has no adverse effect on the organisms that later consume it. Indeed, UV radiation impacts the genetic structure of microorganisms. As a result, many explode and the remaining ones are unable to reproduce. Once the water is cleared of microorganisms, it's used for public park or golf course irrigation.
To conclude, the wastewater treated by this plant can be reused. Consequently, it decreases the amount of fresh water needed for irrigation. However, as we have seen, this plant needs a lot of maintenance. For example, all the wastewater could be treated by improving its capacity and its management. The sand filter operating space could be increased. In addition, the plant produces a large amount of sludge, but isn't upcycled because of mentalities and legislation. That's why our company wants to help and perfect the plant by improving some parts of the process, like using more anaerobic tanks, for example.